Welcome to this overview of how the Data Analytics and Learning MOOC works. This is a short introduction to the structure of the course and some of the expectations that we have as instructors with regards to your participation and involvement in the course. First important point to note is that we're emphasizing heavily connections between learners and creation of content, creation of artifacts, and contributing what you've learned back to the community or the course that you're a part of. It's not about content, at least not primarily. If you've taken a series of courses on platforms like edX and Coursera, you might be used to a more consistent stream of content or content elements, lectures that specifically articulate a particular topic area and introduce you to a fairly broad range of ways of understanding those topics. Instead, we're focused on introducing some broad ideas and then encouraging you to engage in peer learning activities and engaging with each other, as well as providing back to the learning space where you're getting some of these resources or some of these learning materials. This is based to a fair degree on some of the thinking of the sociologist Barry Wellman from University of Toronto. And he's articulated that historically we've lived in so-called little boxes, which means that we're really based or confined by the geographical communities where we're involved in. So essentially where you're born was really luck of the draw, and that determined a lot of how you would do or how you would succeed in the course of your life. About 100, 150 years ago, with the development of globalization, we started to move away from this heavy geographical confinement. He terms this globalization, which means that we're still geographically situated, but we're able to reach through media, could be the telegraph or eventually the telephone or even newspapers, but we're able to reach across those geographical restrictions in a way that we historically weren't able to do. More recently, and this is certainly pronounced with the development of the web in general, we've moved to something that looks more like networked individualism, which means that geography and where we're born doesn't determine our success the same way as it has historically. Instead, our ability to connect to others and our ability to create and engage ultimately determines where we end up or how we succeed in life. And a large part of this is then informed by the view, in this course at least, that knowledge is a network property. And when we create, we need to take what exists and build something new. And so you'll find quite often in this course you're going to be asked to create an artifact, and that artifact could be a blog post, could be a visualization of data, it could be a complex problem that we're asking you to understand through a variety of different data or analytics methods, and then essentially to share that back to other course members who then in turn take that, build on it, and keep innovating. And it's this general idea of combinatorial creativity where we're focused on creating new things. If you look at a traditional course, it looks something like this. Now, of course, this is a fairly significant simplification of that, but essentially you have the faculty members teaching the course, you have the textbook or the curriculum or the course content. It might be in a regular classroom or it might be in a learning management system in an online program. But you have this flow of content, if you will, from the faculty member to the learner. We envision something that looks a little bit more like this, where you still have the faculty member or the instructors involved in the course, and there's core content and important course ideas that need to be communicated. But instead, the learners are connected to a range of other opportunities, and these are peripheral learners, individuals that are partially involved in the course. They might be following the course peripherally through the use of Twitter or social media, following a hashtag, contributing resources. They might engage in social bookmarking services just for sharing resources, tools like Diigo, for example. They might take a MOOC with a different provider. They might have simply spent some time looking at the literature. And it's this opportunity where the peers, the learning happens not exclusively from the faculty providing content to the learners, but instead learners are actively involved engaging with one another in sharing and creating resources. Now, the way that that's reflected in the the Data Analytics and Learning MOOC is that we're focusing on distributed conversations. We're trying to emphasize that regardless of where you participate, if it's on a blog, if it's in a learning management system, or edX if you're involved in the discussion forums, bookmarking sites, Twitter, and so on, we essentially want to focus on conversations that happen wherever they do, being able to aggregate those conversations, which is something that we'll attempt to do in the form of a daily email that'll give you an overview of what's happened in the course. One of the things that we try and emphasize most substantially is the importance of owning your own learning space. That rather than contributing to a course where you put a comment in a discussion forum and that comment is gone, you lose that contribution, or if you create artifacts that get uploaded, there isn't an opportunity for the community or for other learners in the course to benefit from your contribution. We want to emphasize the value of owning your learning space. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't contribute in threaded discussion forums or in the discussion forums within edX. We certainly encourage participation in those areas. In fact, we have a number of help tools that we've built around that based on work that Carolyn Rose has done. What it means instead is that important things that you create, and it could be an image, it could be a concept map, it could be a script that you've written, but something that you want others to be aware of, rather than just sharing it back to the instructor in the course, we want you to share it with each other so that in the spirit of combinatorial creativity, others can take those ideas and improve them. So we look at something that looks a little bit like this. A key activity for you as a learner in this course is to create things and share them, and then to take what others have done, revise them, remix them, and then share them back into the space. And so it's really this iterative process that essentially is what happens in science or any area of scientific inquiry. We've added a few elements to the course that we think will help make this process a little bit easier to understand. If you've taken a series of MOOCs in the past that are more structured, you'll find this experience a little disorienting at the start. Part of the reason it's disorienting is that there are multiple places where learning is happening and multiple places where conversations are happening. It takes a bit of time to get used to that and a bit of time to get comfortable with those multiple spaced interactions. But we've got a little bit of advice if you're focused on making sense of what's happening and finding your way through this chaos without the expectation that you have to consume and understand anything. We have 4 points that we think would be helpful for you to understand what's happening. One, there's a visual syllabus, which basically is a central landing page, if you will, that'll let you know what's happening and where the different parts of the course exist. What are the tags? What are the different groups in Facebook? Or where are you going to find content that's being shared outside of the core edX platform? And all of these different elements will be centrally located there. You'll also receive a daily email. And this daily email is a summary of what happens in social media. We're not pulling the content out of edX, but the discussions that are happening on Twitter and that are happening on different blogs, those will be sent in a daily email. So you'll get a sense of how the distributed conversation in the course is unfolding. We also have live weekly sessions. These will be recorded, but these are hangout sessions where you have an opportunity to ask questions of instructors or to provide any comments or opinions or concerns that you might have related to the course. And finally, there's the opportunity to engage in edX forums. So track conversations that are going on in edX. And if you follow these sort of 4 key points, I think you'll be well positioned to find your way through the course content, but also to start making sense of not just the structure of the course, but obviously the content and the key elements that we're communicating through the course.